Hi, good evening, good evening. This is Karen here, your favorite virtual assistant. I hope everybody's having had a great day, I should say, right? 'Cause it's already 8 p.m. here in the Eastern Time. So I hope everybody have a magnificent day. So today, conversation is going to be about 3 lessons I learned working as a certified nursing assistant. Before I start the conversation, I do want to give you guys a little background on, you know, on my journey, how I ended up being a certified nursing assistant. My first attempt to be, when I first started was home health aide. And as a home health aide, you work with patients within a home. You help them with, clinical care, bathe them, wash them, feed them, go to the drugstore, go supermarket shopping. But I realized a lot of them mostly wanted companionship, wanted somebody to go out with them, talk to them, spend time with them. So that's really what that, right? So then I did that for a little while. I think about a year and a half, 2 years I did that. And then I jumped into certified nursing assistant and and that the process of becoming a certified nursing assistant is what led me to know for sure that the healthcare field, right? The healthcare industry was where I supposed to be. This is where I, this is what I'm this is my industry. This is what I'm supposed to be at because it's resonated with me, right? When I initially started the process of becoming a nursing assistant, you do classroom. You go into the classroom. They teach you also the skills, right? And then from there, you got to take a state test. Before you take the state test, you have to go into a nursing home and work with the aides there. You help them out. You shadowing them for the day. And when I first walked into the nursing home, to be honest with you guys, I really was like, I don't know, this is for me. This is not really, this might not be my type of work, right? That's the first initial when I walked in. But when I came out of there after 8 hour shift, man, guys, I tell you, I knew this is what I'm supposed to be. Like, I just knew it. Like I just felt it in my bones, in my spirit. I'm supposed to be here. I didn't. The way I walked in and the way I came out was totally different. You know, and that prompted me to start to go back to school, right, and become a nurse. That's what that started it. I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to be. Like then that incident prompted me to go to nursing school. Just that. So that's how I knew this is where I belong. This is how I knew solidified. That whole process solidified it for me. You gotta be. This is for you. The healthcare field is for you, right? But in the process, once I started working as a CNA, I learned a lot through the process. Certain things I didn't like, and certain things I loved. And of course, there was lessons in that process of becoming, working with other people, learning patience, being a patient advocate and things like that. But for today, I want to give you guys 3 lessons that I learned while working as a nursing assistant. I say 4 because I wrote 4. I put 3 up there, but I'm going to add 4 because as I was, going down memory lane and thinking what valuable lessons I learned becoming a nursing assistant, I end up with 4. So I'm going to add 4. Okay. All right. So the first one is, excuse me, the first lesson is compassion and empathy. I cannot explain to you guys to be a nursing assistant, you have to have compassion. I mean, not just a nursing assistant, but to work in the healthcare field, period. You got to have compassion and empathy for the people that you're serving, for the patients. You have to have those things. You know, you coming into somebody, who needs your help. You helping someone who cannot do for themselves, or if they can is limited, right? They're very limited in being able to do for themselves. You're not there to judge them as to why they ended up there. That's not your response. That's not your job. That's not what you're there to do. You're there to help them and make them feel good as the best possible way you can, right? So that's the first lesson that I learned was compassion and empathy. I always had compassion. I always had empathy. I always had those things. So to me, it wasn't challenging. But when you are in a situation where you are someone caregiver, right? You're there for 8 hours. You're there to help them for 8 hours, which means that whatever they need you to do that they cannot do for themselves, you assist them. And that's without being disrespectful, without feeling like, oh my God, you don't know how to do that. Like none of that. You're there to help this person to get them dressed. Sometimes even change the because sometimes you have patients that are not able to do for themselves at all, paraplegic patients. That you have to help them out. Be there for them. You know, make them feel comfortable as that is for that person, right? So for me, it wasn't hard, but it just took me to another level of empathy, right? Without judgment, without you saying, "Oh my God, what did you do?" No, that's not my business. My business is to help you. My business is to be a companion, to have a conversation with you. You want to talk to me, I will listen. You know, and also to respect the people. People they live there. They live at the establishment. So you don't come up in there and just be disrespectful to the start grabbing their stuff in their desk and don't knock on the door. No. Would you want it's about do you want that to be done to you? And that's really what it's about. It's about how do you want to be treated when you're at your down moment, right? How do you want to be treated when you're not at your best? That's really what it's about when you become a nursing assistant and you help someone. So that's to me, that's number one is compassion and empathy. That it took me to it just I learned so much working there, but that particular lesson was number one for me, compassion and empathy. You have to have these for this patience. You have to be able to be understanding. All right. Number two would be team collaboration. I learned team collaboration because let me tell you something. Sometimes you have patients that you're not able to move on your own because they can't move, not because they don't want to. Some patients still help you even if they're not able to. Some just can't, physically can't do it. So you rely on your teammates, you rely on the other aides to help you when dumb circumstances arise, right? You work with one another. Maybe right now they're not able to do that. Maybe at this moment in second they're not able to help you. But y'all both will come to an agreement. Y'all both would set a time to help this patient. So team collaboration was one big lesson that I had to learn working as a CNA and to rely on somebody else. Because let me tell you something, if you body mechanics, like we learn body mechanics, right? But if you pull somebody the wrong way, that could really injure you. So this is why it's important to rely on your team members to help you any way that is possible when it comes to a patient that's not able to do for themselves. So our CNA rely on each other. We do. We rely on each other in a lot of different ways, you know. But number three, lesson number three that I learned was life is to be appreciated. You know, I have many life lessons that taught me this lesson, but working as a CNA, you understand that you have a patient today, you go home, right? And by the time you come back, sometimes that patient's in a hospital. Sometimes that patient passed. I had patients that actually passed while I was on the shift. They look fine. They look well. And then sometimes throughout the night, they get cold. Cold means they could get cardiac arrest or, any breathing problem. Pretty much they're not responsive, right? So you learn to value life and you learn to appreciate the little things, you know, and how the bigger, the little miniature things, the little petty things doesn't really matter because in reality is you're here today and you might not be here tomorrow. So for me, I this lesson, seeing this every day, seeing how 1 minute is fine, everybody's fine, the patients are, everybody's in a good place, the patients are, wherever it is they want to be at, and the next minute they could cold, or they're not feeling well, And next thing you know, they have to be sent out to the emergency room or to the hospital. So this is why I say, for me, the third lesson is life is to be appreciated and life is fragile. You know, that's my that's a big one for me. Just learning the process of seeing patients. Just you learn to you become family with these patients. You know, even though, yeah, you're there for 8 hours, but these are like, if you're assigned to a patient, that's your assignment. That's who you get. You see them every day. They know you. You know them. They know your family. They don't know your family, but they might hear about your family depending how comfortable you feel to speak to them about your personal, right? So, but you will know their problems. You will know their family. You will know their struggles, because if they feel comfortable with you, they'll talk to you. They'll tell you, they thoughts. They tell you, what might have happened to them. They'll tell you so many things, and you learn to listen. That's one thing I didn't add there, but you really do learn to listen. Actively listen, and you also learn how to pay attention to detail, right? Because there might be some patients that they might not be verbal. They might not be able to talk, but you learn to pay attention to them, right? You learn to know who they are. You get to learn when they're not feeling their best by paying attention to the patient, by literally paying attention to them. If you know this patient's the type of person, like for me, I mean, I have patients that they might not be able to talk, but they'll help you move. They'll help you a little bit as they can. But the minute that they cannot do that, and the minute that I see a change in their behavior, I kind of already know something is going on. And this is when you need to call the nurses or the doctors to step in and assess this. So life is fragile. Life is very to be appreciated, but in the same within all of that, you learn to be attentive to detail. You know, that's major. You need to be attentive to detail when it comes as a CNA. The last one is This is three, but the last one I put is patience. Right? You learn to have patience, because there are some patients they're not the easiest. You know, they're not the easiest patients to deal with. They might be very challenging, right? And then that might not be even the case. They might, sometimes I know when I used to work the graveyard shift, which is the overnight shift, for those that might not know when I used to work the overnight shift, sometimes you have patients that don't go to sleep at night, because they home, they there, they nap throughout the day, so they're not they don't sleep at night sometimes. And sometimes you have patients where they're tired, but maybe something's going on with them, right? So you learn how to find ways to work with your patients. You also learn how to have patience with them, even when maybe right now they might be a little challenging, they might be a little difficult, but you learn to figure out how to work with them. You know, that's one thing I definitely learned, is have to have patience. Because when I first started in this journey, my patience, it was good, but being there, it really heightened it. Like, you dealing with patients from different lifestyles, different walk of life, so you learn how one, not to take things personal, right? Uh, that's You cannot take things personal, but also to have patience for this patient. Work with them, have patience with them, try to help them the best way you can, and just meet them at where they are. Like, help them in whatever they need, and definitely allow them to be independent. Allow them to take be as much independent as they can, because we're not there to take away anything from them. We are actually there to add to them. We're actually there to help them out. We're there to guide them. We're there to have a conversation with them. We're there to have fun with them. We're there to laugh with them. We're there to learn about them. You know, so these are my four lessons that I learned working as a certified nursing assistant. You know, one thing I do know is I mean, a lot of times when we are healthy and we don't require any help from anybody, sometimes we can take for granted, right? Sometimes we get dismissed those people that might that need require the help and I need a help, right? But I think it's important to know and to just remember, treat people how you want to be treated. You know, because we're good right now, you're okay right now, you're healthy, things, thanks to God, but you never know how things are going to turn. And you want to treat people how you want to be treated in the event that you are not in the best place, right? What about that's your mom or your father, your parent or your grandmother? This is why for me it was big. Like I always believe in treating people the way you want to be treated, because I have a family. I have an uncle. I have a grandmother. I mean, I have grandparents. I mean, God rest, I have sisters. I have cousins. I have aunts. And I will hope that whoever, God forbid, is ever was in a situation where they cannot defend for themselves and they need assistance and they need help, that whoever was to help them will treat them with dignity and respect, you know, would treat them with kindness. These are little things, but it's important to those people. Like, you don't understand how kindness, how to be kind to someone that maybe right now they don't feel well. Maybe who knows? They got so many things that are going through their head that we don't necessarily know, and not everything they tell you. But what the bottom line is, to treat them with kindness, because you coming in there and brightening their day. That's all they need. That's just just a little smidgen of them to be happy for the day. So I hope this live was helpful. I hope this live brought some value to you guys and you learned something from this. Okay. But if you have any comment, put them in there and I would answer you back. I will definitely respond back to your comments. And I hope everybody have a great night and take care, guys. Bye.